All right, everyone, so today I'm going to be baking a no-knead seeded oatmeal bread. And it's going to be fantastic. I'll be baking it in the Dutch oven, so we won't need that for a little while. We'll start out with our ingredients first. What we're going to do is start out with our flour and our other dry ingredients, and we'll go ahead and just mix them all in. And I'll have all the ingredients at the bottom. It's actually a real simple recipe. Only a few ingredients. And so once we have all the dry ingredients in, we're just going to go ahead and mix it up really well. Spend about a minute or two making sure that everything's mixed together really well before we put in our warm tap water. All right, so once we got all our dry ingredients mixed, we're gonna go ahead and make a little well in the middle here where we're gonna pour in our warm tap water. And so we're gonna start out, it's 2 cups total, but we're gonna start out pouring in about 1.5 cups of it, about 3/4 of it or so. All right, so we got all the flour incorporated. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna cover it tightly with plastic wrap, or as tight as you can get it. And then we're gonna let it sit outside for 1 hour. And after an hour, we're gonna put it in the refrigerator for anywhere between 8 to 24 hours. I like to leave it overnight. Get as close to 24 hours as possible. You're gonna get a good rise and it's gonna taste so much better. So we'll be back tomorrow once we get that rise. All right, so I've let it sit overnight. I just pulled it out of the bowl, lightly floured my board that I'm gonna work on. And so the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna press it down gently, not too hard. And then what I'm gonna start doing is just folding it over from all the corners until I start forming a kind of a ball shape. And again, you want to make sure you have a little bit on your hands as well so it doesn't stick. So once I got it rolled over, I flip it over and I'm just going to kind of shape it into a ball. Real simple. You don't want to overwork it. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more on top, and that's so my towel doesn't stick. And we're going to put a nice clean towel over this and let it set for 20 minutes. And while you're doing this, make sure you have your oven preheated to 425 degrees and have your Dutch oven inside heating up and a piece of parchment paper ready right next to your work area. All right, so I've let it sit for about 20 minutes. I just moved it over to this parchment paper so I can add my topping. And I have the list of toppings that we all mix together listed at the bottom. And it's basically just what we included inside, but we're going to add a little bit more outside. Some room temperature tap water and a brush. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by brushing 1/2 of our dough with water, and you want to get the edges as well. And that's just going to help the topping adhere to it. And we're just going to grab a handful and we're just going to lightly sprinkle some on that half that we got wet. You want to have your hand on the side cupping it, and you're going to kind of catch what falls down and just put a little bit on the side. And just gently pat it in, not too hard. All right, so like I said earlier, I had my oven preheated to 425, and I actually had the Dutch oven in there for about 30 minutes. It's super hot, so be very careful, use your mitts, and be careful when you're around it. So we have our parchment paper with our dough in here, and you're gonna set it down. Again, be careful not to burn yourself. We're just gonna drop that in there. And then we're gonna cover this, and we're gonna bake it for about 40 minutes, and once we get to that point, we're going to uncover it and bake it for another 10. So go ahead and throw that in the oven, cover it up, and we'll be back in 40. All right, so I let it cool down for a little bit. It smells amazing. It looks fantastic. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that first slice. I can tell it's still warm inside. It is baked all the way through. That is perfect. You can see everything in there, the seeds, the dough looks fantastic. I'm just gonna get a little bit of butter here while it's still warm, if I can pick it up. Spread that out. It smells good. That is delicious. Hands down, a fantastic loaf. This is probably the best looking loaf that I've ever baked, and the taste is just as good. Enjoy.